Good morning. A few years ago, there was a popular phrase that swept through the Christian community. And it was simply four words. What would Jesus do? And these words were used to try to help people stop and think. If they were in a difficult situation, or if they were in a situation they didn't know what to do or how to respond, they should stop and think, well, if Jesus happened to be in this very spot, in fact, if he happened to be in this situation, what would he say? What would he do? How would he respond? Now, as good as I think that is, it's good to stop and maybe think about that. I think it falls short from how God really wants us to respond and live in this life. Because it's not about what would Jesus do, but what has Jesus already done? What has he already done in my life? What has he already done in my heart to change me so that I respond in a very different way? So I talk about this in the sermon because you see, Jesus kneels and he washes his disciples' feet, trying to illustrate this very simple idea. The disciples had a hard time trying to understand what was Jesus really talking about. What did it mean that Jesus washed their feet? Watch this.
But I'm pretty sure Jesus did not do it to start another sacrament. Well, then, maybe it's about humbling. That's good. That's right. You need to serve your brother. Humbling. It's about humbling yourself. And that is a good point, but I think it was probably something even more. Well, then, it would have to be service. You serve someone else. Right? And I think that part is there as well. But I think there's something even greater than just the washing or just the humble or just being a servant. There's something that went even beyond all of those things. And it was so important, in fact, that Jesus said, look at what he said in verse 15 of John 13. He said, I have set this example that you should do as I have done for you. In other words, it wasn't just about washing the feet. It was a new rule that I call the growth rule. And the growth rule is, see, the golden rule is do unto others as you want to have to do to you, and that's great. How do you want to be treated? Treat others that way. But Jesus, and that's important. And then Jesus went on, though, to say, this is how you grow. This is the rule that will change everything. This is the rule that will make a difference in your life. Don't just only treat someone like you would want to be treated. Treat them like I have already treated you. That's the growth rule. The growth rule is that Jesus has touched us. Jesus has changed our life. Jesus loved, as I've loved them, love that way. He went to the cross. Wow. As I've cared for them, you care for them. He gave everything. As I have invested in their lives, you're willing to invest in their life. You're willing to risk everything that you think and you are for them. Because that's what I did for you. Now you do that.
I want you to add the growth rule with the golden rule. Now we know to live by the golden rule. The golden rule says, I'm going to love people or care for people like I want to be treated. But Jesus also said, I want you to live by the growth rule, which means if we are going to really see growth in our life, we have to treat others like God treated us, like Jesus treated us, how Jesus treated us, how he cared for us. That's how we're going to see real change in our life. That's how we're going to really see God using us. It's that we care for people and love people and forgive people, just like Jesus has forgiven us. Now, this isn't something new. Jesus taught this all through his ministry. From the very beginning to the very end, he was teaching, you treat others like I'm treating you. In fact, in John chapter 13, starting in verse 34, he says, I give you a new command. You are to love others like I loved you. In other words, you treat them. You work in their life. You forgive them. You are compassionate to them, just like I have been to you. You may wonder, says, well, how am I to forgive others? Just the way that Jesus has forgiven you. That's the way you're to forgive them. What's really interesting is right after this in verse 35, Jesus adds an incredible weight to what he's teaching. Because then he says, this is how they will know, everyone will know, that you're my disciples. If you love others. Not just if you love others, But if you love others like I loved you, like I cared for you, wow, that's going to change everything. It's going to turn everything around in your life. And that is how we grow. Now, for your scripture reading today, I want you to read John 13, starting in verse 34, all the way to the end of the chapter. Because at the end of this, after Jesus just taught how we should love and how we should care, and this is going to help us grow, at the end of that, he's talking to Peter, who is about to face the biggest challenge of his life. The biggest temptation that he's going to have to deal with is going to be right there in front of him. And Jesus is laying out the template. This is how you recover, Peter. This is how you grow. You just care for others like I cared for you. And I know that's what God's going to do in your life as well. And I believe he's going to continue to bless you and change you and grow you in the most amazing way as we learn to walk and to love and to forgive just like Christ is. Thank you for watching the video devotions. If you could do one more thing for me, if you could go to corechurchtampa.com and click on in the menu where it says video devotions, you'll find on that page a survey. If you'll click on that survey and fill it out, it'll only take a couple of minutes, but that will allow me to put together and to finish all the thoughts for this dissertation. It would really be helpful, and I hope you're able to do that. Thank you very much.